The interview room felt more like a display case than a place for conversation. Glass walls boxed it in on all sides, turning Ava into an exhibit. Candidate number 7. She smoothed her hands over her skirt, noticing a faint coffee stain she'd failed to scrub out that morning. It shouldn't matter, she told herself. Skills mattered, character mattered. Still, her pulse tapped loudly in her ears. 3 interviewers sat across from her, perfectly aligned. The woman in the center smiled first. Tell us about yourself. Ava inhaled. I'm someone who learns fast, she began carefully. I've worked in 3 different industries because I had to. Not because I couldn't commit, but because life demanded flexibility. She spoke about deadlines met under pressure, about solving problems without authority, about staying late without being asked. Their pens moved, but their faces stayed neutral. And the 2-year gap? The man on the left asked, not looking up. Ava's throat tightened. She could lie. She'd practiced the lie. Instead, she chose truth. I took care of my mother. Full-time. She passed last year. Silence followed, heavy and uncomfortable. The woman nodded, but her eyes drifted to the clock. Daniel Cross sat slightly apart from the panel, arms folded, observing. He didn't interrupt. He noticed how Ava didn't dramatize her sacrifice, how she owned it. When asked about leadership experience, she admitted, I wasn't given the title, but people came to me when things went wrong. Her voice trembled only once, then steadied. The final question came like a closed door. Why do you think you're the right fit for this company? Ava considered the corporate slogans on the wall. I'm not sure I am, she said honestly. But I know I would care about the work. And I would challenge what doesn't make sense. The air shifted. Polite smiles returned. Tighter now. The assistant stood. Thank you for your time, Ava. She recognized the ending. Ava gathered her folder, stood tall despite the ache in her chest, and walked out without looking back, unaware that one pair of eyes followed her, thoughtful and unsettled, long after the door closed. The elevator doors slid shut with a soft, final click. Ava leaned back against the mirrored wall, finally allowing her shoulders to drop. Her reflection looked smaller than she felt moments ago, tired eyes, controlled posture, a woman used to bracing for disappointment. As the elevator descended, each passing floor felt like a quiet confirmation, it's over. When the doors opened into the lobby, sound rushed in, heels on marble, low conversations, the distant hum of success. The building was designed to impress, and it did, but Ava no longer felt intimidated by it. She walked past the reception desk, ignoring the polite glance from the guard who had issued her visitor badge. She peeled the sticker from her coat and folded it carefully, as if it were something personal. Outside, the city air hit her face, cool and sharp. Ava paused at the top of the steps, gripping the strap of her bag. She had imagined this moment differently, maybe tears, maybe anger, but what she felt instead was relief. She hadn't shrunk herself, she hadn't begged, she had told the truth, and if that wasn't enough, then this place wasn't for her. High above, in a corner office framed by glass, Daniel Cross stood by the window, watching her exit. He hadn't spoken a word during the interview, but her answers echoed in his mind. I would challenge what doesn't make sense. Most candidates promised obedience disguised as enthusiasm. Ava had offered integrity, and been quietly dismissed for it. Behind him, the hiring manager cleared his throat. Strong candidate, but risky. Not polished. Daniel's jaw tightened. Risky. That word again. He watched Ava descend the steps, her pace steady, her head high. Something uncomfortable stirred in his chest, the sense that they had just made a very expensive mistake. Hold the offer approvals, Daniel said suddenly, turning away from the window. The room fell silent. As Ava blended into the crowd below, Daniel reached for his jacket, already moving toward the door, driven by an instinct he hadn't trusted in years, but one he refused to ignore now. Daniel didn't wait for permission. He shrugged into his jacket as he crossed the office, ignoring the confused looks that followed him. Assistants straightened, voices rising with questions he didn't answer. The elevator felt impossibly slow, its polished doors reflecting a man who was rarely seen without control. He tapped his foot once, impatient, an unfamiliar habit. By the time the doors opened, he was already moving. Ava was halfway down the steps outside when she heard hurried footsteps behind her. Too fast, too deliberate to be coincidence. She stiffened, instinctively checking her bag strap before turning. The sight stopped her cold. The man from the interview. The silent one. The billionaire, if the rumors were true. Miss Ava, he called, breathless, as if surprised by his own urgency. She blinked. Yes, her voice was cautious now, guarded. People like him didn't chase people like her. Not without a reason. I'm Daniel Cross, he said, extending a hand, then realizing how absurd formalities felt in this moment. He lowered it. I'm sorry to stop you like this. Ava glanced back at the building, then at the street, as if checking whether this was some elaborate mistake. The interview is over, she said quietly. I understand. Daniel shook his head. No, that's the problem. We ended it too quickly. He searched her face, finding neither desperation nor resentment, only resolve. You didn't fail, he said. You unsettled us. Ava's brow furrowed. Unsettled. You answered honestly, Daniel continued. You didn't perform. You didn't sell yourself. You made us uncomfortable, and that's usually where growth starts. The city noise swelled around them. Horns, voices, the rush of people going somewhere important. Ava crossed her arms, grounding herself. If honesty is a flaw here, she said, then I'm glad I'm walking away. Daniel met her gaze, something like admiration flickering through his composure. It's not a flaw, it's just rare, and I realized too late that we were about to lose it. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Daniel exhaled slowly. May I have 5 minutes of your time? Not as a CEO, but as someone who doesn't want to repeat a mistake. Ava hesitated, heart steady, curiosity winning by inches. Finally, she nodded once. 5 minutes, she said. Daniel smiled. Small, genuine, and grateful. They stepped a few paces away from the building, stopping near a quiet stretch of sidewalk where the city noise softened into a distant hum. For the first time since the interview began, there were no glass walls, no panel, no titles hanging between them. Just two people standing in open air. Daniel broke the silence. I watched the entire interview, he said. I didn't speak because I wanted to hear who you were when no one was trying to impress me. He paused. What I saw was someone who thinks independently. That's dangerous in the best way. Ava let out a small, humorless breath. Independent thinkers don't usually get rejected so politely. They do here, Daniel admitted. We've built a system that rewards safety. You didn't offer that. He met her eyes. You offered truth. Ava's fingers tightened around her bag strap. Truth doesn't pay rent, she said evenly. And respect doesn't mean much if it disappears in a conference room. Daniel nodded, accepting the strike. Fair. That's why I'm not offering you the role you interviewed for. He reached into his coat and pulled out a simple card. No flashy design, just his name and private number. I want you on a small internal team reporting directly to me. No committee filters, no scripted answers. She studied the card but didn't take it yet. Why me? Because you said you'd challenge what doesn't make sense, Daniel replied without hesitation. And because you already did, by walking away. Ava searched his face for condescension and found none. Only intent. Slowly, she took the card. I won't soften my opinions, she warned. Even if they cost you money. A faint smile curved Daniel's mouth. Especially if they might. He extended his hand again, this time steady. One condition. If you ever feel unheard, you walk. Ava shook his hand. Then we understand each other. As she stepped back, the weight of failure lifted, replaced by something unfamiliar but solid, choice. And as Daniel watched her walk away again, this time with purpose, he knew this was the moment the company truly changed.